Kiahonfire family, it's Conan and welcome back to Conan Exiles. Today we're going to be going over some of the changes that happened in the Testlive patch more in detail today. And this is to do with fish traps and the new stone consolidant recipe, as well as the ichor changes and bait changes as well. So it's been a very interesting patch. A lot of key fixes have been included. So I thought I would definitely include them in today. So we'll have a look at that, shall we? So today you can see I have a bunch of fish traps. So we have improved fish traps, we have the old, shell traps and the improved ones as well. Well, these don't actually passively generate fish and shellfish anymore. They are actually going to need to be, well, topped up with bait to make them worth more, which makes things like insects way more useful than they used to be, and they actually have a purpose. I mean, they did have a purpose before, but they even have a more key purpose nowadays. So here are our baits as follows. So you have a handful of insects, fat grub, queen bee, and worker bee. Now, all of these have different percentages on, well, if they bring in more unappetizing fish, or savoury fish, or exotic fish, or if they're kind of just balanced out. And it's the same with the, the other traps as well. They have different percentages on what they might bring in. And there's one called rare fish chance as well that you can also get on this one that can only be done in the, well, advanced fish trap, which is rather interesting. So, for a basic trap, if we're to go ahead and go and put in some, well, normal, but put in some lovely insects, shall we? And I'll use half of those, pop them in. You can see I'm going to get, we're going to do the catch fish thing. It's going to take a little bit of a while. You actually had a timer in there because it's now technically a crafting station in a way. It's going to craft you fish for bugs, which is a weird way to do it, but yeah. If you were to put insects in a basic trap, it gives you 50% on getting an unappetizing fish, 30% on a savoury fish, and 20% on an exotic fish. Now, if we do the next one, if I want to do fat grubs, so let me just let's just use this. It's going to give me 30% unappetizing fish, 50% savoury fish, and 20% exotic fish. So there's that. And then we move on to our next one, where we have the queen bee. So I'm going to half that, make it 50. There we go. Lovely jubbly. Pop that in. That's going to give me 10% unappetizing, 10% savoury, and 80% exotic. So if I really want exotic, then this is the one you really want to use. And then we have our normal worker bees that we can also use in here. Pop that in. That's going to give me 40% unappetizing, 30% savoury, and 30% exotic fish. And the way I know these numbers is as I actually have a sheet with the proper number percentages that they actually require, if you're wondering. Anyway, let's move on to these. The improved fish traps. Lovely fish traps. I used them a lot in my playthrough because they were so great. And they gave me a really nice time with having all those fish buffs. So, here we go. Let me split these up pre-hand. So, handful of insects. We pop that in. It's going to give me 30% unappetizing, 30% savoury, 30% exotic, and 10% rare fish. So, your previous fish, you remember where you got those angel fishes, eels, etc. Now it's going to be a 10% chance to get them. So, it's a lot rarer to get them. Could be a little bit more difficult. But we'll see about that. And then we move on to our fat grubs. So, we pop that in. That's going to give me a 20% fat grub, 35% savoury on savoury and exotic fish. So that's that. Now we have our queen bees in. That gives us a 90% chance to get exotic fish, 0% chance on appetising and savoury, and 10% on a rare fish. Then we have a look at this fish trap. So worker bees, and let's pop them in. So there we go, we pop them in. That is going to give us a 10% on unappetising, a 30% on savoury, and a 50% on exotic, and a 10% on rare fish. So, like I said before, the rarer fish are a lot harder to get out of these improved fish traps, but at least you'll have that chance via these. And I guess to get the best chance of getting lots of rare fish is to get lots of bugs and lots of bait, and just have lots of these traps, really. So I don't know if it really works with their original intent. Their original intent was to get you to use less fish traps, but I feel like with these mechanics, you probably would have more fish traps, if you get me. I don't know, do you feel the same way? I definitely do. Doesn't make much sense to me. And, well, these shell traps are the same. These ones are the same kind of values as the other one. So, if you want the normal shellfish pattern, it's the exact same percentages as was in the normal fish trap, basic fish trap, with the same baits. So remember that from last time. That's the same with those, so we don't have to do those again. However, these improved fish traps are different, but they don't provide any rare fishes or rare shellfish, which I feel like they really should actually. Doesn't really make too much sense to me why not, but let's go ahead anyway. Now, the advanced shellfish trap is a little bit different. Unfortunately, you don't really have rare fish coming out this one, although I feel like you should, in a way, have something like a big lobster come out of it, or I don't know. Like a really big fancy lobster or a prime cut of lobster. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Oh, I'm not good at fish. But anyway, we have this one that's already crafting. If you feed it bugs, you're going to get 30% unappetizing, 30% savory, and 40% exotic. If we go and feed it the fat grubs, it gives us 20% unappetizing, 35% savory, and 45% exotic. Then if we go and feed it a queen bee, it's going to give us 0% unappetizing and savory, but 100% exotic. So you always get lobsters if you feed it like queen bees. And for the workers, we get 10% unappetizing, 30% savory, and 60% exotic. Yeah, there are your percentages on most likely and what you'll get, etc. So you might get a mixture just like before, or you might get more ones than the other ones. I'm going to let time run with all those bugs. You remember the bugs in there that we gave them? And I'll show you what I get out of my results, because it's always good to have something to look at, I find. Alrighty, so the fish traps are done, as you've seen. I did actually crash in between doing this, so it was a little bit like, no! I was trying to time it, but the results are the same either way. So, this is our fish trap number 1. So we gave the insects to that one. See the results there. Fish trap number 2, we gave the fat grubs to. There you go. This is the next fish trap, which we gave the queen bees to. So there's the results there. And there is our next fish trap, which we gave the worker bees to. Then it's the same as we go over here. So this is a handful of insects we gave this one. You can see there's not very many exotic fish at all on that one. Then we have our next one, so that was our fat grubs. Again, we have only one exotic fish in that one. Then we have our next one, which seems to be a lot of, well, just exotic, really, fish in here. Nothing really special. You saw what was happening while it was crafting either way. So, not very interesting at all. And then we have our final one, the worker bee, which seemed to give us, well, a decent spread of different exotic fish. But this one definitely gave us the most out of them. I'll definitely have to try them again a few times, because it does seem like, I would say, the exotic fish values out of a special improved fish trap is too low. I would definitely up it to at least 20%, and then I would be happy with it. I think 10% is way too low for something you make especially, like, for these kind of results to get through. Too low for me. Let me know what you guys think. I don't think it needs a little bit more. Just not overdo it, just a little bit more. But anyway, let's check our fish traps here. So our special ones. So this was our insects you have here. We actually got more of the lobsters in this one. And then we have our fat grubs. So that's what we got in this one. Then we have our mixture of bees. So I put both the bees in there. It actually didn't finish crafting all of them actually. And I have a look at it, but you can see it mostly is all exotic shellfish in either way, because they're very high value with queen bee and the worker bee in general actually. And you can see I actually mostly use the worker bee and not the queen bee to craft all of that, so you can see you got quite a lot of that anyway. But anyway, those are the results with the fish traps and what you get out of them. So that's what you will get nowadays, unless they do up the value, which please Funcom, please do that, because I think it's way too low. It is for something that's especially for that kind of thing. Definitely way too low. I get you want them rare, but no. Needs a little bit more, okay? Okay, so not only have they changed fish in that way, they have changed fish in the way of the fluid press. So now they have switched it completely around, which I actually really agree with. I think it has been due for a very long time, because before it didn't make any sense at all. Because you would bake the unappetizing for the ichor, and then you would use it also to get the most oil, and it made unappetizing the good ones, and then the other ones kind of bad. But now it is, if we put 10 unappetizing in, it gives us 1 oil for 10 of them, so totally switched around. And then if we were to put in 5 savory fish, this will give us the 1 oil. So we pop 5 of those in, should give us the 1 oil. I'll let it queue up. And then for the exotic fish, they have now made this, instead of using 10 of them to get oil, you now use 1 of them to get the oil. And they all give 1 oil for those recipes. So, totally switched around. Lovely, great, love it. Now you might be wondering why I have a big old fireball cauldron. So also some changes here. So nowadays you remember this used to take ichor, and now it takes resin. You might be thinking, resin? We never get many resin unless we do like certain things like drying wood or that kind of thing. Well, they've actually upped it a lot more and made it a lot more efficient to get resin. So resin is the thing you're now going to need to farm and get, instead of just popping it in the, well, and just popping it in the oven and getting some resin or ichor, you know. You can't just do the old ichor ways. You got to do it differently now. So, stone consolidant now requires resin instead of ichor. Resin can be obtained from trees reliably using picks and pickaxes, starting from iron tier and up. And this is again to stop people trying to use giant fish trap farms. But like I said, if you have the improved ones really low, well, you're still probably going to get quite a bit of that. Maybe not as much, but still quite a bit. So here we up in the trees. Let's have a look what they give us now. So they said we should be able to get some more out of using different tools. So we have pickaxe. Should be good for getting resin out of trees more. And let me say, it can come out of any tree. It doesn't just have to be highland trees like this. It can be like the palm trees like before in the other map. So you can see if I'm whacking it now, I'm going to get quite a bit of bark out of this. And then some nice resin out of that usual one. Then we have a look with the other pickaxe, so the star metal one on the other side of things, where you should get more in general. This is on normal rates. You see I got a nice amount of resin out of that. So there you go, lovely jubbly. And then you use the pickaxe, which has now been more catered towards getting bark. So let's check this baby out. We hit this, hitting the stone unfortunately as well. But you can see we got a lot more bark out of that one with this as well. So those are the changes between the tools and what they will now do. So they're a little bit different, but they work kind of similar in their ways. Just you have to get more trees to be able to do the stone consolidant like you used to be. So living in an area with a lot of trees will probably be something more worth doing as well in the long run. So those are those changes anyway. And I know you're probably wondering, does this affect the same thing for the dried trees? You know, those are really good for bark, etc. before. So we whack this with this. You can see it's still just as good. And then if we use the pickaxe as well on it, just as good as getting bark. So you don't have to worry about that. You can still get bark pretty reliably out of these old dried trees like you could beforehand. But anyway, that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you think about the changes. Do you think they needed to be done? Do you think they're good? Do you like certain bits more than others? Do you agree that the percentage on rare fish should be turned up a bit more than 10%? Or do you not agree? But anyway, thank you for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!